Ladies and gents, welcome to the home of Dynamo Dresden. 2 tickets, please. Anyone? Hello? Ladies and gents, this is the second part of a 2-part series. In part 1, we spoke about how where I currently am, the land surrounding today's ground, is the land in which the very first football club started here in Germany. If you're English, you'll definitely want to check out that video. There is a link in the description below. But as you can see me by that iconic colour scheme, the branding, and of course behind me, the Rudolf Harbig Stadion. I'm here, of course, at the Rudolf Harbig Stadion. I'm here at the home of DDR-Oberliga, the 3rd division team, although a sleeping giant, Dynamo Dresden. Now, I'm not sure how close I'm going to get to the ground, because what I've learned from visiting the Red Bull Arena, from visiting the home of Union Berlin, despite the quirky elements of these grounds, despite the fact that a lot of them are quite old, unlike English football grounds where I seem to be able to wangle my way inside, security is pretty hot here in Deutschland, which is ironic because Dynamo Dresden began as an East German police team, so maybe they're policing the ground today in 2024. Ladies and gents, let's start this 360. Let's learn a bit more about one of East Germany's most successful football clubs. So we just spoke about the similarities between Dynamo Dresden and Alemannia Aachen. Now that's not just because of the colours they play in, the fact that they both play in Germany's 3rd division, but if you look at the stadium, there are a lot of similarities in terms of the way it looks with the Tivoli. Now obviously the building of that ground led to all kinds of issues for Alemannia Aachen, put them into financial despair. Obviously they're on their way back, but if we reference some of Dynamo Dresden's hard times over the years, a lot of East German clubs found it difficult after reunification. The money just wasn't there in general in East Germany compared to the West. Now they were very, very successful when they were playing within the East German league systems. I'll go on to their honours in a moment. But when they were added to the Bundesliga in the early 90s, they spent 5 seasons in the Bundesliga. But since then, they've slowly drifted down the leagues. They've kind of hopped between the 2nd division and the 3rd division. Now, that's had an impact on capacity, because again, if we speak about the similarities with the Tivoli, I think that was about 32,000, wasn't it, in terms of capacity. Wikipedia has this ground as just over 32,000 in capacity as well, but in terms of attendances, that's down quite a bit whilst they play in the 3rd league. They were getting around 25,000 in the 2nd division. It's more, again, according to Wikipedia, correct me if I'm wrong if you're a Dynamo Dresden fan, it's apparently more like 15,000, the average capacity here at the moment. So take what I just said lightly. As Fusion Josh would tell you, a lot of people consider the Dynamo, potato, potato, Dynamo Dresden fans some of the craziest fans in Germany, known for their pyro and their graffiti culture. These fans are bloody crazy, in a good way. They're such a highly supported club, and again, don't be fooled by the fact that they're in the DDR-Oberliga, because as we keep saying, a lot of East German clubs, big clubs from the DDR-Oberliga era, are now struggling in the current league system. As I look to my notes, you've got BFC Dynamo based in Berlin, which have a very strong connection to Dynamo Dresden, may I just add. They won the DDR-Oberliga 10 years in a bloody row. They're currently stuck in the 4th tier, the regional leagues,
of German football. Now you might have noticed with BFC Dynamo, they've got a similar badge. That's because Dynamo Dresden were essentially moved to Berlin. A lot of the players were moved over to Berlin because they wanted a big super club in Berlin, so the fans could like rival the fan bases of some of the Western clubs like Hertha Berlin and so on. There's Hansa Rostock, the last ever winners of the DDR-Oberliga in 90/91. The last ever winners are also playing in the Dry Liga, the same as Dynamo Dresden, but they were in the Bundesliga for about 10 years, so they have had relative success, but again now in the third tier. So if you look, probably throw Dynamo Dresden in there as well. 3 of the most successful clubs from the DDR-Oberliga era, all in the 3rd or 4th divisions. It just shows that reunification has failed from a footballing sense. All the success is on the west and the east, and left to reminisce about the good old days. But I love reminiscing about the good old days. Let's crack on with the video.
So again, if you haven't checked out part 1 where we talk about the history of German football, which kind of began right here in Dresden, check out that after this video, whereby we look at some of the parks, some of the land, such as the bit of land I'm on right now, which surrounds the current home to Dynamo Dresden, because the land that the ground's on now, as we said in that video, is the same land in which the English settlers here in Dresden set up Dresden English Football Club. So it really is a historic, not just in terms of local history with Dresden, but in terms of German football. So over here would be the perfect photo opportunity, and they know that because I've not seen this before. Photo Casa, and there's a little slot. I guess you've got to put your euros in that football to have some pictures taken. I can see a few people entering. We need to try and get a little bit closer. I can't find anyone though. In here, I'm guessing this is where all the pitch maintenance is done. You can see some goalposts over there in the distance. I'm just going to hop on this mower for a bit, guys, rest my legs. Hopefully a fellow greenkeeper will come along. He might let me just sit in the passenger seat. He'll hop in and we head on through. Wishful thinking. Yeah, better not. I was tempted to get the lawnmower on the go and just plough my way through into the grounds, but let's do the respectful thing. Let's go into the fan shop. We're going to ask someone kindly whether they'll let us in. Trying to find someone obviously to ask whether I can get a picture on the pitch, but I don't want to upset security because this is a fantastic club. I've obviously just been in the shop briefly chatting to the staff, who all speak English by the way and are really friendly. I do try and make the effort and use some of the German words I know, But I said to them, I saw those deck chairs and I said, you can go to Old Trafford, you can go to Anfield, and I'm not knocking the Anfield club shop, by the way, because the Anfield club shop's really good, but I've never seen deck chairs in any shop, not just in England, the Premier League, any Bundesliga shop. I've never seen deck chairs being sold. So I'd love to get one of those deck chairs back to Football Paradise HQ, but I rarely ever see, maybe at RB Leipzig for obvious reasons, you rarely see clubs with their own brand of energy drink. The Dresden SG Dynamo Dresden energy drink. Let's smash that down. I'm still hungover from 2 days ago watching the England game. I had to drown my sorrows, guys. But as well, when I said, oh, the only other club I've seen do energy drinks are obviously RB Leipzig, as soon as I mentioned RB Leipzig, the atmosphere in the room changed, the tension built up, and she was like, nobody who supports Dresden likes RB Leipzig. For obvious reasons. I said, I know, because we're a big club stuck in the 3rd division and they've got all the money without the history, and they're in the Bundesliga, similar to Hoffenheim and so on. So I fully understand some of the frustrations amongst German fans with some of the teams in the top league. Obviously the Zweite Bundesliga is packed with big teams, but so is the 3rd league as well, the Dry Liga. We said about Alemannia Aachen being a sleeping giant. I keep making the comparisons with Aachen. I can only go with what I've experienced so far from my visits to Germany. But I'm absolutely loving Dynamo Dresden. So let's test out the Dresden energy drink, shall we? Beautiful. Not only is Dynamo Dresden a better football club, maybe not in terms of recent history, but they also have a better energy drink than Red Bull as well. Oh yes. So I've got some of their honours in front of me right now. As a reminder, the DDR-Oberliga was kind of the East German equivalent of the Bundesliga. And as I said, they're league champions 8 times. 52 to 53, 70 to 71, 72 to 73, 75 to 76, 76 to 77, 77 to 78, 88 to 89, and 89 to 90. But again, I'm not going to list them all. If you look at how many times they were runners-up, they pretty much dominated East German football in the 70s and 80s, an absolute force of East German football. So it really is sad to see them play in the 3rd league. But as I said before, it's similar to in England. You know, there's loads of former Premier League clubs lower down the tier system. It happens, and it's also why we love all aspects of football, not just the top divisions. On top of their DDR-Oberliga success, they've also won the East German equivalent of the DFB Pokal. I believe they merged, didn't they? So I don't know if you could count them the same as you would a DFB Pokal, but the FDGB Pokal, they were winners in 52, 71, 77, 82, 84, 85 and 90. So 8 league titles, 7 cups. If you compare what's around me right now, and this isn't a knock at clubs like Bournemouth, for example, this club in terms of size of the stadium, the shop, I can't judge clubs by the shop, but I was really impressed by that shop, obviously. I would say they're bigger in terms of fan base as well than some Premier League clubs. I think the Premier League's a little bit like the Bundesliga at the moment. It's good to see new clubs in the top division, breaking it up. I'm all for that. But it does mean a lot of the bigger clubs are further down the pecking order. But again, that's the beauty of football. I always say the journey is more fun than the actual destination. So seeing as we actually got inside the Rudolf Harbig Stadion, in terms of the details of the stadium, its capacity, as I scroll Wikipedia, we mentioned it's 32,000, and I completely got it wrong, because I said to the guy in the shop, I've read on Wikipedia that at the moment you're averaging like 15,000 a game. He's like, nah, that's more like 30. I'm not sure if he's just being defensive of his club or whether that is the case, but if they are getting 30-odd thousand to a 3rd division game, that is absolutely incredible. It's been renovated a few times over the seasons, in 51, 90 and more recently in 2009, but it did originally open in 1923, a whopping 101 years ago. But as we said at the start of the video, this place is absolutely thriving in history, and it very much is a focal point of German football. As I said, Dresden might well be in the 3rd division, but the area, Dresden itself, is where it all began in Germany. So be proud of that, the people of Dresden. And I'm loving this club. I did throw it out there recently because I do make Bundesliga content as well. I did throw it out there that I would be visiting lots of Bundesliga clubs and Zweite Bundesliga clubs, and potentially choosing one as to who, as to a possible club I would support. I voiced my concerns or frustrations more so about the Premier League and how money is just completely ruining our top division. And I'd like an alternative and to support a German club. But I think it's quite ignorant of me to dismiss the Dreiliga as well. I know I got told off by a friend of mine who's an Alemannia Aachen fan. He said, you can't discount Aachen. I said, I know. But I think we're going to have to visit Bundesliga, Zweite Bundesliga and Dreiliga, maybe not all the regional leagues as well, before we make our decision who we're going to support. But Dresden, Dynamo Dresden, you're definitely high on that list. Yes, ladies and gents, we made it in. Had to time it with the deliveries because when the old man rocked up into the shop, he said, I just got a photo inside the ground. I said, it's hard to get a good one, isn't it, over that fence? He said, what are you on about over the fence? I've just walked straight in. And me, like a jealous little kid, flew out that shop with my energy drink, and I've been trying to find my way in since. But there we go, guys. What a beautiful ground. Obviously it doesn't look anywhere near as good as it would on match day, so we will be back. So yes, guys, second trip in the fan shop, and we've got a couple of goodies. I'd only gone in there expecting to buy maybe an item of clothing, maybe even something cheap like a drinks glass, but all the time I've been here over the last few days, I've been looking out for a fanny pack, a bum bag. And I thought to myself, if anywhere's going to have one, it's going to be the Dynamo Dresden shop, because they literally have everything, as I said, in that shop. And what a beautiful looking bum bag it is. We're going to get that on in a moment, because I seem to be dropping my items everywhere. But if you are new around here, I've got a bit of a man cave at home. We call it Football Paradise HQ, where I display all of my quirky novelty items we buy from fan shops, such as the one behind. So I thought this would be beautiful for my man cave. We've got a thermometer, a temperature gauge, so we can hang that up in the man cave. Well then, guys, it's time for me to meet back up with Gareth Southgate and the rest of the England boys. But if you haven't seen part one, where we do talk about Dresden English Football Club, make sure you check it out. Not only is it interesting for English people, but obviously German people, because this again is the birthplace of where football all began here in Germany. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, subscribe if you're new for more stadium tours and football shenanigans, and I'll see you in another video just like this one.